Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, June 10th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Iran has followed through on a threat to accelerate its production of enriched uranium. That's according to the UN atomic watchdog Monday. Recent weeks have seen U.S. Iranian confrontation sharply increase a year after Washington abandoned an agreement between Iran and world powers to curb Tehran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of international financial sanctions. Iran said last month it was still abiding by the deal, but would quadruple its production of enriched uranium, a move that could take it out of compliance if stockpiles rise too far. It demanded European countries do more to shield it from sanctions. On Monday, Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas spoke with Iranian officials and told a news conference alongside Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif, a dangerous escalation of existing tensions can also lead to a military escalation. Zarif blamed the United States for the escalation, saying, "Reducing tension is only possible through stopping the economic war by America. Those who wage such wars cannot expect to remain safe." Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam on Monday vowed to continue pushing controversial amendments to an extradition bill despite massive Sunday protests. Lam dismissed suggestions the bill was an order from Beijing and struck a conciliatory tone with protesters by promising to include human rights protections in the measure. Protesters had called for Lam's resignation and warned that the bill could erode Hong Kong's legal autonomy from mainland China and expose Hong Kong residents to China's judicial system without basic protections. Organizers said Sunday's march, which was followed early Monday by clashes between protesters and police, drew 1 million people into the streets, although police put that number at 270,000. Unknown assailants killed at least 95 people in a central Mali village early Monday morning. 19 people were also reported missing after the Dogon village of Sobamida was attacked. Homes were burned and animals slaughtered. Government officials say the latest massacre occurred in a growing ethnic conflict driven by fear and suspicion over alleged ties to extremist groups once linked to the West African country's north. The killings highlight the Malian security forces' inability to contain the spreading extremism by fighters linked to Islamic State and al-Qaeda and the growing danger of frightened communities arming themselves. Mali has long battled Islamic extremism in its far north, with a French-led military intervention dispersing jihadists from the region's major towns. The extremists have infiltrated communities much further south in recent years, stoking animosity between ethnic groups in the more populated region. Thousands of protesters blocked roads in Haiti's capital Sunday to call for the resignation of President Jovenel Moïse over corruption allegations. Demonstrators burned tires and threw stones. Police set up barricades near Moïse's residence and fired tear gas at protesters trying to get through them. At least one person was fatally shot, although it was not immediately clear who had fired the fatal shot. The protests are calling for deeper investigation into what happened to money from subsidized oil shipments from Venezuela under the Petro-Carib Oil Alliance. A Senate inquiry concluded that 14 or more officials in the administration of Moïse's predecessor, Michel Martelly, had misused $3.8 billion. A gunman shot former Boston Red Sox slugger David Ortiz at a bar in the Dominican Republic Sunday, wounding him in the lower back and abdomen. Ortiz's family said he is recovering after surgery at a Santo Domingo hospital. Ortiz's father, Leo, said he is out of surgery and stable. Big Papi will be around for a long time. Police said the gunman ambushed Ortiz from behind and was captured and beaten by bar patrons. Police plan to interrogate the suspect after he recovers. Leo Ortiz said he had no idea why anyone would shoot his son. Ortiz, who is 43, is a 10-time Major League Baseball All-Star and star of 3 World Series winning Red Sox teams. He retired in 2016. The Justice Department has agreed to turn over some of the underlying evidence from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report, including files used to assess whether President Trump obstructed justice. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Representative Gerald Nadler of New York, said the department will begin complying with the committee's subpoena Monday and provided some of Mueller's most important files. He said all members of the committee will be able to view them. The Justice Department did not have an immediate comment. In response to the agreement, Nadler said the panel will not vote to hold Attorney General William Barr in criminal contempt for now. But the House is still expected to vote on a resolution Tuesday that would empower the committee to file a civil lawsuit for the materials, if Democrats decide to do so. The deal is unlikely to give Democrats all of what they were requesting, including an unredacted version of the report and secret grand jury testimony. But it is the first agreement that the Judiciary Panel has been able to strike with the Justice Department since the report was issued in April. U.S. stock index futures gained over the weekend following the announcement that President Trump suspended plans to impose 5% tariffs on all Mexican goods after Mexico agreed to step up efforts to keep undocumented Central American migrants from entering the U.S. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures pointed to a gain of more than 100 points at Monday's open. That would extend Friday's gain of 263 points, or roughly 1%, after a surprisingly weak May jobs report stoked hopes that the Federal Reserve would soon cut interest rates to give the economy a boost. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said last week the central bank was closely monitoring the effects of U.S.-China trade tensions on the economy and would act as appropriate to sustain the expansion. Some of the world's biggest tech companies have told their employees to stop talking about technology and technical standards with counterparts at Huawei Technologies in response to the recent U.S. blacklisting of that Chinese tech firm. According to sources familiar with the matter who spoke with Reuters, chipmakers Intel and Qualcomm, mobile research firm InterDigital Wireless, and Southern Korean carrier LG U+ have restricted employees from informal conversations with Huawei, the world's largest telecommunications equipment maker. The U.S. Department of Commerce has not banned contact between companies and Huawei, but on May 16th, the agency put Huawei on a blacklist, barring it from doing business with U.S. companies without government approval. United Technologies said that it would merge its aerospace business with Raytheon in a deal that would create the second largest U.S. aerospace company behind Boeing. If the deal goes through, the combined company will be a military weapon and aircraft-making giant with $74 billion in expected 2019 sales. It would be one of the biggest mergers of the year. Raytheon makes missiles, radar systems, and other technology. The newly formed Raytheon Technologies Corporation will add United's jet engine producers, Collin Aerospace, and Pratt & Whitney. United is spinning off its Carrier air conditioning business and its Otis elevator company under an earlier deal. The deal with Raytheon could close early next year if it wins regulatory approval. Indonesian officials warned Monday against the prospect of further eruptions from an active volcano on the island of Sumatra after it emitted a huge column of ash, causing panic among residents. Mount Sinabung, which has seen a spike in activity since 2010, erupted for around 9 minutes on Sunday, sending clouds of volcanic ash nearly 4.5 miles into the sky. Although no casualties were reported, officials monitoring the volcano warned of possible fresh eruptions. Authorities left unchanged the alert level for Sinabung, but urged residents to use face masks and keep indoors to guard against volcanic ashfall. Mount Sinabung, which is nearly 8,100 feet high, is among Indonesia's most active volcanoes, but had been inactive for 4 centuries before its 2010 eruption. Indonesia has nearly 130 active volcanoes, more than any other country. And that's your update for this Monday, June 10th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting this podcast, and I hope you have a wonderful week.